Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN News. He's Jay Williams. He's Keyshawn Johnson. I'm Freddie Coleman. In 10 minutes, you're going to find out who said that Zach Wilson could be the next Patrick Mahomes. That comes your way in about 10 minutes. What's next for the Philadelphia 76ers? Could Ben Simmons be traded? He asked out of Philadelphia on Tuesday. Then Joel Embiid, he said, hey, if anything is a problem, I don't have a problem with Ben Simmons, period. It also goes back to when the Sixers blew a 2-1 series lead to the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And then Game 6 happened when he could have put away the series, and that didn't happen. And Joel Embiid said this, and he kind of mentioned but did not mention Ben Simmons.
I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot, and, we made one free throw, and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored, and we didn't get a good possession on the other end, and Trey came back and he made a three, and then from there, down 4, and then it's on me, I turned the ball over and try to, make something happen.
So here's my problem, because yesterday, Joel Embiid then tweeted, sources, trust me, bro. Stop using my name to push people's agendas. I love and hate drama. I love playing with Ben. Stats don't lie. He's an amazing player, and we all didn't get the job done. It's on me personally. I hope everyone is back because we know how good we can be and we can win. You see, I wish Joel Embiid said what he said yesterday at the post presser after they lost. Because what it seemed like to me is, even though he wants to make it seem like there's not a rift between him and Ben Simmons, he threw Ben Simmons under the bus after they lost that game. Now, look, in Game 4, they had an 18-point lead. Mm-hmm. In Game 5, they had a 26-point lead. Mm-hmm. In Game 7, they had 17 turnovers. Joel Embiid had 8. So as I understand that Ben Simmons didn't play to the level we expect him to play because he didn't shoot the rock, and there are big questions around Ben Simmons. I'm not saying that. But yesterday was the leader of the team that I think can go deep into the playoffs, because that's the type of accountability that Joel Embiid needs to have. Now, I talked to Rich Paul yesterday, and Rich Paul was like, look, we go anywhere but stay in Philly. That speaks volumes about how Ben Simmons sees Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers organization. It speaks for itself about what exists between those two.
Well, I don't know if we got no room for a young kid out west, though.
You got enough players with the Lakers, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we got room for a young pup, man. We old school with the Lakers right now. We don't, but Ben Simmons isn't. Look, man, sometimes you need a fresh start, and maybe his teammate Embiid feels a certain way, in private versus public. I don't know. I'm not that deep into the Philadelphia 76ers and what they got going on. I know one thing, though. Change of scenery sometimes goes a long ways in one's professional career. And if he feels that he wants out of Philadelphia, and Doc Rivers in the Philadelphia and Elton Brand and everybody should try and figure out how to make a move to move Ben Simmons so he can go on with his career and they can get the...
Be tweeting a denial this morning of a reported rift between him and Ben Simmons. Earlier this week, USA Today and the Philadelphia Inquirer reported respectively that a rift between the two teammates is escalating and that Simmons told the team in a recent meeting that he wanted to be traded. Sources previously telling Adrian Wojnarowski that Simmons has sought a trade and that his agent and Sixers management met earlier this summer to discuss the All-Stars' future. Embiid tweeted multiple times, including something about his relationship with the fans of Philly earlier this morning, but the one that stood out is this, quote, sources, trust me, bro, stop using my name to push people's agendas. I love and hate drama. I love playing with Ben. Stats don't lie. He's an amazing player, and we all didn't get the job done. It's on me personally. I hope everyone is back because we know we're good enough to win. NBA reporter Brian Windhorst joining us now with much more. Wendy, you can imagine how this is all playing out with a passionate fan base in Philly. The Sixers, they begin training camp on September 28th. What's the potential for a Ben Simmons holdout if he's still on the team?
It's very strong, Kevin. From what I have been told, Ben Simmons does not intend to return for training camp if he is not traded. He told as much to owner Josh Harris, who traveled out to Los Angeles last week for an in-person meeting, not over Zoom, with Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers. He is aware that he can be fined, and in fact, he can be fined $225,000 per day. NBA teams usually work 6 days a week. That means he could rack up $1.3 million per week in fines. But he is aware that his first paycheck isn't until November 15th. That is 10 weeks from now. And he believes that that is the window to get this done. He does not intend to play for the Sixers again. And that is the message he has delivered.
Okay, when you look at the contract, 4 years, $147 million left on his current deal. So what's the likelihood that a holdout would force the Sixers' hand to trade him?
Yeah, so if you're a Sixers fan, you say, well, what leverage does Ben Simmons have? He's not going to be a free agent anytime soon. We just can wait him out. The leverage is that he can make the Sixers very uncomfortable on a day-to-day basis. And this strategy has worked repeatedly in the NBA in the last few years. Jimmy Butler up in Minnesota. Last year, James Harden, a couple of Rich Paul clients have sat through training camp and contract disputes. J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson. All of those players had limited leverage and got what they wanted. So this is just following a path that if you don't have leverage, create your own. And that's what Simmons is doing. We'll see if he has the success those other players did.
Anthony Davis as well. And by the way, as you mentioned, Rich Paul, he is, of course, Ben Simmons is his client. Brian Windhorst with the very latest on the Simmons saga, which it feels like it's just. Stephen A. Smith back with us here on SportsCenter. Stephen A., where do you point the finger when you look at all the issues from yesterday's collapse by the Sixers?
Well, certainly you got to look at Doc Rivers because Nate McMillan is doing an outstanding job, and that's Doc Rivers' adversary, and he's overcome back-to-back double-digit deficits, which is something that's happened to Doc Rivers about 15 times in the last 11 years. So you got to pay attention to that. But in terms of the bulk of the culpability, I put it squarely on the shoulders of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. You're Tobias Harris. You're getting paid $180 million. Jimmy Butler walked out the door, went to Miami. You were supposed to be that dude. 2 for 11 shooting, not a single field goal in the entire second half. Last time I checked, you about 6'8". You got a handle, you got a jump shot, you got an NBA body, you got some strength, you can get to the hole, you can get to the free throw line. Tobias Harris has been to the free throw line 9 times in 5 games. Now, somebody explain to me what type of excuse can that be? This is ridiculous. And then we get to Ben Simmons. Listen, I had this conversation with Doc Rivers at the beginning of the season. I'll say it again. I said it to him. I said it to everybody who would listen. Ben Simmons can't shoot, and as a result, that's why the Philadelphia 76ers ain't going to win the title. Because when your primary ball handling decision maker is not a threat to shoot the ball beyond 5 feet, that is a problem. And then when you take into account the free throw shooting, Ben Simmons has missed 26 of 39 free throws. That's 12 for 39 shooting from the free throw line. He's missed more free throws than the entire Atlanta Hawks squad. It's just embarrassing, it's pathetic, it's inexcusable, and it makes you wonder what the hell these people are doing in their offseason. My God. What could you possibly say to explain that away, shooting 41% from the free throw line? That's worse than Shaq used to do, worse than Wilt Chamberlain used to do. There's no excuse whatsoever. But that's what's going on with the Philadelphia 76ers right now, and I'm looking at Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris because guess what? If we're not talking about them in that light, then the Philadelphia 76ers ain't losing this series, period. But if you get to talk about them in that light, they're going home, and we will never forget. Never forget what happened in Game 5.
No, we will not. It will sting for a long time, considering the way things are going and the way we saw Joel Embiid step up. And speaking of stepping up, let's go to a guy who had to step up last night because the Utah Jazz, the 1 seed in the West, now down 3 games to 2. Yeah. No Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. It's Paul George. It is the real playoff P. What are you seeing from him and what he's done these last 3 wins?
It's been spectacular. Over the last 3 games, he scored 31, 31, and 37, respectively. Last night was an incredible performance on his part, considering the fact that he was absent. Kawhi Leonard and the pressure of the world mounting on him and the organization. This is a franchise that has never been to the conference finals. Nobody believed they would win a Game 7 in Utah, pretty much. Not if Donovan Mitchell is healthy. That made Game 5 significantly more pivotal because that way, if you win Game 6, the series is over, and that's at the Staples Center tomorrow night, where I will be, by the way. In the end, what it comes down to is that Paul George reminded you of the kind of things he was doing in Indiana. He was taking the ball to the basket. He was using his strength, his size to take advantage of smaller individuals. Even some of the bigger dudes, he was using his quickness and his speed to get to the rack and to do damage there. He wasn't settling for anything. He wasn't playing soft. He was going for it. And so the guy that they call Pandemic P turned into Playoff P and really, really reminded us of what the hell he's capable of. And as a result, not only can you now not imagine the Los Angeles Clippers losing this series, because you can expect them to win tomorrow night based on what we saw last night, but not only that, then you've got the Western Conference Finals, assuming Kawhi could come back. You could possibly be looking at the Clippers going to the finals. And with the health it being an issue in Brooklyn and Philadelphia, of course, and Milwaukee struggling to shoot from the free throw line, and so other stars like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton not expecting much from them, the Clippers actually could win the championship if Kawhi could find himself coming back healthy and Paul George continues to play this way. That's how significant his performance was.
What a ridiculous turnaround, too. Just a week ago, this team was down 0-2, and so many questions about the future of the Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi playing together. A lot of questions in Dallas. The Clippers advancing by knocking the Mavericks out in round number 1. In the last couple days, long-time GM Donnie Nelson out yesterday. Today, Rick Carlisle deciding to part ways with 2 years left on his contract. What's your take on what's going on with Luka's squad in Dallas?
It's a mess right now. And we don't like to say that because we like Mark Cuban, but it's a damn mess in Dallas. And it's not because of the Cowboys. It's because of Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks. You've got a guy that's an analytics dude that you've been listening to, and unfortunately, he appears to have alienated some folks. If you listen to and read the articles that have been written about it, Donnie Nelson, after 24 years as the GM, he's out. And 2 days later, or a day and a half later, Rick Carlisle walks out of the door after 13 years on the job. He'll have another job. You'll hear about Indiana. You'll hear about Portland. You should be hearing about Boston, because that's a team that should give him a look. But in the end, this is about change that needed to take place in Big D, because Luka Doncic needs to be made to be happy. And he clearly is not happy going home in the first round, which they've done 6 times in the last 10 years. And the other 4, they haven't even made the playoffs since winning the title in 2011. I have no problem with change. I think Rick Carlisle needs to be coaching somewhere else. So I'm happy for him, and he's made that decision. But it doesn't dilute the fact that Luka Doncic is not happy. Change needed to be made, and Mark Cuban shouldn't stop there. He better pick the right coach to coach Luka Doncic into the future, and he better find a way to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis, because he ain't the secondary star that Luka Doncic needs in Dallas. They need